Yo, welcome to Philosopher's Stoned. I'm your host. You should know my fucking name if you're watching. I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna say my name. Man. So, the topic I'm covering tonight is another somewhat unsolved mystery that's been covered a bunch by a bunch of other different channels, bunch of other different researchers, if you will. I don't give a fuck. I like this shit. It's one of the first mysteries I found on the internet when I started digging way back in the old internet days. It's always stuck with me, and I just wanted to cover it. So we are going to cover the Dyatlov Pass incident. I hope I'm saying that fucking word right. Dyatlov, whatever. I'm not Russian. You know, I don't know how to fucking say these words. I'm gonna try to do my best to pronunciate the names in this shit right. I'm probably gonna have to stop and use Google to help me sound it out. But yeah, here we go. In 1959, 10 young adults embarked on an expedition. All grade 2 hikers from the Ural Polytechnical Institute with damn near expert level ski touring experience. So it's not like they were rookies setting foot on a suicide mission or anything like that. This was well planned. They knew what they were doing. No problems ahead, you know? The crew was 8 men and 2 women, all in their early 20s. 9 out of the 10 would end up being found dead. 6 of their deaths were ruled out as hypothermia, which would seem logical considering the area of Russia this was in and its, snow mountains. But we'll find out why that's mysterious in itself. This incident is called the Dyatlov Pass incident because the group's leader's name was Igor Dyatlov. Let's start by going over the timeline of this tragic adventure. So, the group arrived in Ivdel by train on January 25th, 1959. The following day, they ventured up to Vizhai, which was the last inhabited settlement in the north part of the area. That night, they ate, got rest, prepared for their trek to the mountain of Gora Otorten the next day. That's Gora Otorten. Hope I'm saying it right. This is when the 10th member of the group and the only survivor decided to return back because of his health problems, specifically rheumatism, and it said he had some other heart shit going on, so he was like, fuck it, I'm going back. He probably got a gut feeling that something bad was going to happen. By the 31st of January, they reach the edge of the highland zone and break away from the river. This is where they will prepare for the strenuous climb. It's said that they stashed supplies somewhere in this area, either at a corn chandler's shop or some shelter they built themselves. What the fuck is a corn chandler? That morning they set off to what would be their final campsite. They only had to travel 2.5 miles, but in this habitat and whatnot, in the conditions, that's kind of fucking far, and it's a hard little trek. By the evening of February 2nd, they've made their way up in the slopes of the Mountain of the Dead, Kholat Syakhl. I find it interesting that the indigenous tribe of the Mansi people named this mountain Dead Mountain or Mountain of the Dead, and this was named before the skiers were ever there, so there must be some type of history of dead people on this mountain. So anyway, the crew decides to camp on this exposed slope. They had cleared the trees, and according to the evidence in the photographs, they were in a positive state of mind, so they had good spirits at the time. They were getting ready to go on this giant climb, gonna ski, have a good old Russian time. This is where the incident begins. Before bed, some of the crew had removed some clothing, which makes not a lot of sense in this freezing weather condition, but who knows. We're talking negative 18 degrees Celsius. Sometime during that night, after going to bed, some halfway undressed must have ripped and torn through their tents to get out. and began to flee down into the forest. So half naked, they rip out of the tents and run down to the forest for shelter. Now, they left essential items for survival, like their boots and the heavier clothing that would be needed to stay warm. The tracks found suggest they went in different directions, but then met back up around 300 meters down the slope. Alright, so here's where we go over the bodies that were found. The first two bodies were two of the males, in their underwear and shoeless, about a mile down the mountain from their camp. Burnt hands and battered bodies, and human flesh was found around a few of the tree branches, as if they were trying to climb up the tree to get away from something, but kept slipping out of panic or something pulling them down. And then they find the three more bodies: the leader, Igor Dyatlov, Zina Kolmogorova, and Rustam Slobodin. Supposedly, these three were disorientated, suffering from hypothermia, tried making their way back to their tents somehow. Rustam was found with a 2-inch gash in his head and a fractured skull, but for some reason he's still ruled as dying from hypothermia, as if getting a fractured skull in negative 18 degrees Celsius isn't a fucking sealed death as it is. Dyatlov was found holding a branch in one hand, and the other hand was frozen and in rigor mortis, and it seemed to be like shielding his head from something, so he's holding a branch, shielding his head at the same time. Sounds like a state of defense. Zina was found further down, surrounded by traces of blood. Was Igor trying to protect the others from what the first two men found and were trying to get away from when they climbed up the tree? Now, months later, after the snow had melted and the area had gotten a little thawed out, the remaining bodies were found. Now, these 4 bodies had the internal fatal injuries that are extremely suspicious. That kind of makes this case the big mystery that it is, because there was no external trauma. It was just internal. Dubinina was found with her head laid back and her tongue ripped out. Her eyes, lips, and parts of her face were missing. She had macerated hands. A skull fragment was missing, but her cause of death was internal chest trauma. Doctors described it as if she was hit by the impact that would be equal to a car crash. Thibaut Brignoles had several fractures to his skull. Zolotaryov also had major chest fractures, but no external injury to cause these chest fractures. So it's like a force of some kind gave them chest fractures, but there's no external evidence of that happening. Now, Alexander Kolovatov's body had no signs of injury, so I guess he just died from hypothermia. I mean, could have died from fucking fear after watching 8 other people get murdered or killed by some type of unknown force. Some of the clothing that they found on the bodies were proved to have signs of radiation, and that's important. Because why would they have radiation? Unless something more nefarious was going on in the area, like nuclear testing. I'm going to list out some possible causes of the incident that have been gone over 1,000 times. Now, the official cause of the Dyatlov Pass incident is an unknown compelling force the hikers were not able to overcome. Sounds like some type of fucking cover-up. An unknown compelling force that the hikers were not able to overcome. What the fuck does that even mean? Obviously, they're not talking about an avalanche, because they would say an avalanche. Now, how the fuck does a snow avalanche cause these kind of injuries on experienced mountain skiers? I don't buy the avalanche theory at all. Even if an avalanche hit at the time, are they radioactive avalanches? Are they caused by nuclear explosions or atomic bombs going off in the mountain? I don't think so. And it just doesn't explain the injuries. Now, you could say the missing tongue and the face and stuff that's all ripped up is from animals out there. But how many vultures are there in Siberia? I haven't looked it up. I don't fucking know. Next theory would be, did the Mansi people attack and murder the crew? Why would they do that? To beef up their Mountain of the Dead lore? I don't know. That doesn't make sense. It still wouldn't explain the internal injuries with no external cause. And why? To keep skiers out of their territory and and keep it with the cool Mountain of Death name. There's also a theory that the Mansi people used black magic to kill off the crew as if some type of ritual, but I don't buy that shit. I think the indigenous people, the Mansi people, have nothing to do with this shit at all. Now here's a good one. Were they KGB spies? Gotta have some espionage in this motherfucker, you know? Can't talk about Russia without spies and espionage. So in 1959, the Cold War was popping off, and the theory is that the crew were spies deep in the throes of an espionage-based war. Could one of the hikers been planning on committing treason, so the KGB just killed all of them to cover up one murder? Or were they all KGB spies and their missions were over, so it was time to, cut them loose, and they take them out to this rural place and kill them all? I don't really buy that one either, because of the photo evidence of them all looking super happy. It seems like if they were KGB spies and they were being taken out to a rural mountain to be killed, they'd have some type of itch that something was wrong. I just don't buy that one. Here's a good one. ET contact gone wrong. Now, some search party members report seeing fireballs or orb-like beings in the sky over the area of the mountain during their search. Could that presence explain the mysterious injuries on the bodies found with internal damage but no external evidence? Is there aliens on this mountain that have the technology to fuck up a bunch of people like this? I don't know. There's not really anything else on that. I don't rule that one out at all. I never rule out aliens because they could be the answer to a lot of this shit. Oh yeah, baby, I had to go here. A radioactive Yeti Bigfoot cryptid. Now, the indigenous people of the area call the Yeti or their Bigfoot Mank. So the legend is there. They do talk about a Yeti-type creature. This would explain the two men who tried to climb the tree to escape whatever was attacking them. I mean, I don't know why they'd climb up a tree, as if a giant ape-like Yeti Bigfoot couldn't just climb the tree or pull the tree down. I don't know. But whatever was attacking them must have been scary enough, because Igor Dyatlov was obviously clenching a branch and protecting his head from something. He could have been the only one with the balls to fight back against the snowy Bigfoot. To me, this is the one that I believe the most. The girl who is missing her tongue and parts of her face, that's some monster doing some human feasting. Like, if there is reports of the Yeti being cannibalistic, even Sasquatch being cannibalistic. So, that's my take on it. Now, the more I've read, the more I've tried to rationalize logic with this. It's probably some type of operation done by the military out there gone wrong. Testing nuclear weapons, testing some type of bomb, and it caused a bunch of radioactive shit in the air that killed these innocent hikers. But hey, I'm just reporting on what the fuck I've read, so don't listen to me or my opinions. Actually, you should, because I'm probably fucking right. I want you to figure out for yourself what you believe about the Dyatlov Pass incident. This is one of the many unsolved mysteries of all time to me. I'm going to keep doing more fun shit like this because I love it. Thank you for watching Philosopher's Stoned. Please don't go skiing in Siberia and get eaten by a radioactive Bigfoot. And if you do, let me know so I can go with you, because I'm trying to find that motherfucker. I feel like I can talk to him. You know, man to man. Creature to creature. Stay safe, America. Don't wear a fucking mask. The virus isn't airborne.